Hey everyone, this is your captain speaking, and I hope you're all doing very well. In this video, we're going to be talking about the stages of alchemy and how awesome alchemy is as a metaphor for psychological transformation, psychospiritual growth, and we're going to be talking about how this last year, 2020 into early 2021, has had extremely good astrology for the alchemical process, and that it's really just the kind of astrology that's perfect for forging your Philosopher's Stone. 2021 is the year of the Philosopher's Stone, and I hope you got to see my last video up here and how I talked about this, that the astrological theme that I've chosen for 2021 is the year of the Philosopher's Stone. And so I really encourage you to check out that video because I talked about what exactly the astrology is. I'll say some of that perhaps here, but the focus is going to be more on an article that I found on the internet. I've been reflecting a lot on this idea of the Philosopher's Stone, and I've been doing a little bit more research on the Philosopher's Stone and alchemy. I'd say I've read a lot about alchemy, and I feel like I've really used the idea of these different stages and different parts of the process, the psychospiritual growth process. Understanding those stages of alchemy has been very helpful for me. And so, yes, I've reflected on it a lot over the years and tried to work with it. But now I'm going deeper in a sense, and I really want to grasp this idea of the Philosopher's Stone. And so I looked on the internet, did some research, and I found this article. And so I want to look at it. It's very simple, and you'll see that there's a kind of very good unpacking of this list of the stages of the alchemical process that ultimately leads to the Philosopher's Stone. And so let's go and look at that article. We'll look at it each stage one by one, and yeah, I'll have some things to say about it. So let's go in there. So here we are, just to show you this really cool short piece that I found on the 7 stages of alchemical transformation. And it's on this website. Where's the author? Tanya Palazzo has done an awesome job. And I'm assuming that she writes this blog and she has a store. So I really hope you check it out, because I'm really grateful to Tanya, because this is a very good summary, I feel. So let's just kind of read through it part by part. And here's the first part. Oh yeah, I wanted to do this. How do I do this? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes. Symbolically, alchemy represents our attempts to refine or improve ourselves individually and collectively. The goal of alchemical transformation is to attain a higher state of consciousness and access our true self, also known as the Philosopher's Stone. This process consists of 7 stages of chemical, physiological, and psychological transformation. And so, wow, awesome. Very helpful definition, I think, of alchemy and how it ultimately relates to higher states of consciousness, incarnating our higher frequency soul level self. I think that's what we're ultimately talking about, is like full incarnation and full integration of that higher self. Like, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about it, how it's like this alignment of last year, the Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto conjunction, once in a 1,000-year alignment, and how that's just coming to an end now. I've thought a lot about how helpful it is for crystallizing the authentic self, for really kind of chiseling away at anything that's not authentic, burning it up, and this kind of burning to ash of anything that's not the crystalline, authentic, true soul level identity, and like really bringing it in and expressing it fully is what we're talking about, I feel. And so I think this is very related to step 1 of alchemy. Let's take a look at this. Oops. Calcination. Calcination is the initial phase in the 7 steps of alchemical transformation. Chemically, the calcination process involves heating a substance in a crucible. Saturn-Pluto is the ultimate alignment of crucibles and, in a way, crucifixions. It's extreme energies, that's Pluto, that Saturn constrains, confines, focuses, makes more dense. Ultimately, it incarnates. It brings higher energies into form. Saturn is the material structures of this dimension of consciousness, where we are in these bodies under the illusion of time and separateness, and yet still in contact with our higher self. And it's all about, how can I bring that higher self into this body, into this consciousness, and express it fully in the world in my unique way. I think that's what we're talking about. And so Saturn-Pluto is that crucible, and it is the fiery furnace that burns everything except the soul level essence. And so that's the calcination, baby. And so what's next? What's next? Dissolution is stage 2. Dissolution, the second phase, involves dissolving the ashes from calcination. Chemically, it is the dissolving of ash in water. Psychologically, it represents the breaking down of artificial structures and the unconscious, rejected parts of our psyche. It represents the breaking down of artificial structures and the unconscious, rejected parts of our psyche. It is a process in which our conscious mind lets go of control in order to allow the deeper, hidden aspects of the self to surface. It's this more Neptunian stage of the process, and I really encourage you to check out some of what Liz Green, the astrologer, has written about how Neptune relates to this Solucio phase of alchemy. Just do a search for Liz Green alchemy. I'm sure there'll be a few things that come up. But yes, it's the Neptune phase. It's the phase where everything's kind of washed away. All the ash is washed away, and it's a revealing of the essence that remains. And it's the like cleansing, healing waters of Neptune that come after the fire, the rains that come after the fire, the sweet waters of life that soothe the soul after all of that fire and compression and the sense of everything being ground to a halt, ground to the point of destruction. That's the Pluto-Saturn energy. And then Jupiter just makes it epic in scale. after that, it's like we need some healing. We need some healing waters. And I think that's really where we are right now. We're coming into that stage after these astrological energies are ending. That Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, it's really ending. It really has pretty much ended. We're in the very last weeks of it in terms of, yeah, it's full on intensity. And we're heading right into this very special alignment. I talked about in the last video how we're moving into this really, we've been in a Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury triple conjunction, and how there's going to be a few days, I think it's, yes, March 9th, 10th, 11th, where the moon comes into the quadruple conjunction with Jupiter, Mercury, and Saturn. So you get a quadruple conjunction there. Talked about that a lot in the last video, but that is, I think, yeah, it's really this beginning of a kind of crystallization of that philosopher's stone of understanding, of wisdom, starting to, yeah, I think there's some language here in the article that I think fits that alignment that we've already been in. It's kind of climaxing the 9th, 10th, and 11th. And right after that, the 12th, well, it's a special, 12th, 13th, 14th, you get the new moon, and it's a new moon tight quadruple conjunction with Venus and Neptune, which I call the heart chakra super portal of 2021. Heart chakra super portal of 2021. We're heading for it. It's just a couple weeks away here. And so we're really sailing into those healing waters of the Stelzner phase. And I think it's going to feel like cleansing and relief and release. And yeah, the healing heart opening, granting peace, and yeah, a sense of remembering love and the force of love in our lives. And so, yeah, I think that's so close. We're really moving into that Stelzner phase. Of course, these different stages of alchemy, they're all overlapping, and sometimes more than one of them is happening at the same time, and they can be stretched out over years and decades and multi-lifetimes, these different stages, and then they can also all happen over the course of a day or a year or a week or whatever. And so, yes, I feel like the Stelzner waters, those healing waters, have been around us this whole last year. I hope you can kind of tune in to how, as hard as it was, there was still a kind of soothing love force that you could tap into. At least I feel like I was able to and am able to tap into how, as hard as it's been, there's still been the presence of a kind of spiritual love force. And so that's going to really become even more clear, though, as we move into this Sun, Venus, Neptune. Well, it's already coming in as a triple conjunction, but as we get closer to the 12th, 13th, and 14th, they all get tighter, and the moon comes onto it. I'm going to do another video after this one where I just really look at the chart and break it down a little more. I did do a video at the end of last year that covers this, and so you can check that out too. I'll have it in the I'll have it below in the description box. Anyway, yeah, I'll break it down for you, but yeah, we're already moving into those healing waters, I feel, and the likelihood, I think, is day by day here, week by week, there's going to be a sense of, yeah, kind of relaxing a bit, feeling more contact with the divine, more contact with your own heart and love force. And then I just want to mention one thing. I think we're going to have this experience even more next year. It's coming on big time this year, the healing waters that'll kind of cleanse away the intense energies of 2020. I think those are coming in strongly right now, and I think there's going to be another big wave next year, throughout this year, certainly. definitely feel like this whole year is going to be about healing love and healing waters. But next year there's a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that's strong all year long, and Jupiter just brings that, it brings a larger quality of whatever it combines with. It makes things bigger, and with Neptune being the healing waters and the spiritual dimension and the soul level awareness, Jupiter just makes that bigger and brings it joy and success and a sense of abundance. And so I'm feeling like we're entering into a healing process where we start to integrate and heal from this last year. And I think it's going to continue all year and move into all of next year in a big way. So I feel like that's maybe a good way of thinking about right now, is we're starting to catch this wave of healing, and it's going to start to carry us throughout the year and into next year, where we remember even more what it is to have hope and faith in the ultimate goodness of the universe. Okay, let's take a look at the next phase here. It's separation. Separation. Separation is the third phase in alchemical transformation. Chemically, it is the isolation of the components of dissolution by filtration and then discarding unworthy material. Psychologically, this process is the rediscovery of our true essence, the previously rejected parts of the rational mind. It is a conscious process in which we embrace our shadow self so we can decide what to discard and what to integrate into our personality. Psychologically, this process is the rediscovery of our true essence, the previously rejected parts of the rational mind. It is a conscious process in which we embrace our shadow self so we can decide what to discard and what to integrate into our personality. So this is what that dissolution phase reveals. It cleanses and takes away the ash and leaves that crystalline, authentic self behind. And it's interesting, that part about the shadow self, embracing the shadow self. I think that's another big dimension of this past year, is a confrontation with shadow on a collective scale, certainly, but perhaps you've noticed on an individual scale some of your shadow rejected parts of yourself. And taking a look, like during the Black Lives Matter protests, taking a look at how we are in a process of healing racism and how racism lives in all of the white people of this nation, how we're connected to that history of our white ancestry, and how it has done evil here in America. Yes, it's kind of an owning of that, and at the same time a kind of cleansing of it, and a letting go and a commitment to not act out from that place, to be mindful of it, and at the same time in an open and loving attitude towards it. So it's shadow in that sense, but it is also shadow in terms of rejected, sacred, higher aspects of ourself, more of that true self, the way in which we reject and keep hidden certain parts of ourself that is really our natural way of being, and kind of seeing those parts of us and then making a decision. This is me. I'm going to be my authentic self. Talked about this in the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius video a couple videos back. And it's like in this new age, we become unapologetic about our unique, weird parts of ourself, the parts that don't fit in to what the collective allows. It's like, I'm just going to be me. That's what it's going to be about. And I think that's what the Solutio, the dissolution phase, it just reveals that. You're left with that and a commitment to stay true to it. Okay. The next stage is conjunction. Conjunction is the fourth phase. Chemically, it is the recombination of the saved elements from separation into a new substance. Psychologically, it is the birth of our true self, the divine union of opposites. Psychologically, it is the birth of our true self, the divine union of opposites. I think that was exactly what I was just talking about. I think that was exactly what I was just talking about. Okay, we can go forward to the next stage. Fermentation. Fermentation is the fifth phase in alchemical transformation. Fermentation is a two-step process that ultimately leads to a new level of being. Chemically, fermentation is the growth of bacteria in an organic solution. Psychologically, the fermentation process starts with divine inspiration and synchronicities. Fermentation can be achieved through intense prayer, deep meditation, breath work, or with psychedelic plants. I think there's other things as well. Any kind of spiritual practice, whether it's dancing or singing or anything, can take you to this place. There's so many practices that are about making contact with your higher self, your authentic self, and really bringing it down into this world and grounding it, really anchoring it. Fermentation is living from intuition and knowing when to take inspired action while learning to trust and connect to something totally beyond the physical. Fermentation is living from intuition and knowing when to take inspired action while learning to trust and connect to something totally beyond the physical. I know it's true for me. Over the last 2 years of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction and the full-on intensity of that cauldron of fire that has burned me up and burned the world up, I know over the course of those 2 years, I had to lean into all of my spiritual practices like big time, more than ever. After being a serious meditator for 30 years, it's like I took it even further. It's like I had to go deeper into prayer, into all of my practices, including, and most importantly, my connection with the sky and the moving lights of the sky, and also with my altar and tarot practice, just like going full on there, and also doing other practices that kind of raise my consciousness to my higher self level. I really feel like, and maybe you'll agree, I'd love to hear down below if you feel like the last 2 years have drawn from you, drawn out of you, demanded that you really go deeper with your psychospiritual growth process. I think that's the best way to engage these energies. And I think for a lot of people, we're going to have the gift of coming out of these last couple years and this end of an age, coming out of it and feeling more in contact with our higher self's guidance and more in touch with our intuition. I feel like my intuition has grown so much stronger over the last couple of years because it had to. It had to pull me in the right direction. And that's the way intuition works. It pulls us onto higher timelines, and learning to really trust that, really trust the intuitive guidance that you receive strongly, either as a pull or a push away from something, or a feeling of just naturally slowing down, and honoring that natural intuitive flow in your life, I think is a gift of the end of an age and these stages of alchemy, particularly this fermentation phase. And it leads into the next phase, distillation, everybody. Distillation is the sixth phase in alchemy. Chemically, it is the boiling and condensation of a fermented solution to increase its purity. We're going to get even more pure, everybody. Psychologically, distillation is the agitation and sublimation of psychic forces to ensure that no impurities from the inflated ego, Saturn, Pluto really brings us down to size if we got an inflated ego, to ensure that no impurities from the inflated ego are incorporated into the next and final stage. Personal distillation consists of a variety of introspective methods that help shift our level of consciousness and ultimately changes our perception of reality. Distillation is the purification of the unborn self, our highest potential, free from emotions and egoic attachments. Personal distillation consists of a variety of introspective methods that help shift our level of consciousness and ultimately changes our perception of reality. Distillation is the purification of the unborn self, our highest potential, free from emotions and egoic attachments. I don't like that last part, free from emotions. I don't feel like our authentic self here in a body is ever going to be free from emotions. But maybe free from egoic attachments from time to time. I think that's what we're hoping for, at least a little more or a little less egoic attachments. And so, yes, what do I want to say about distillation? I think that's what we've been talking about. I think we've been talking about distillation and, leaning into our meditative practices, the practices that move us from the left brain, rational, egoic way of processing life into our right brain, where we're able to live from that heart chakra level and be more in a natural flow and more in a natural flow with our intuitive guidance. And so, for me, really working with my practice of tarot, really working with my practice of prayer to the planets out under the sky, really leaning into that, I feel has, revealed my more authentic, higher self and made it easier to live from that place. I feel like that's happening. And so let's look at the last one. Coagulation. Coagulation is the seventh and final stage in alchemical transformation. Chemically, coagulation is the precipitation or sublimation of the purified ferment from distillation. Psychologically, coagulation is first sensed as a new level of awareness and self-confidence that is beyond all things. Many experience it as a permanent state of higher consciousness, the ultimate embodiment of spirit. I love that. The ultimate embodiment of spirit. That's the incarnation process. Over time, we bring and incarnate more and more of our authentic soul level, spiritual level selves. And I think that's what the coagulation process is that leads to the Philosopher's Stone, that leads to the Philosopher's Stone of our authentic self, embodied in this third dimensional reality where time can sometimes scar us. Coagulation releases the ultima materia of the soul, the astral body, also known as the Philosopher's Stone. Physiologically, this final stage is marked by the release of a fiery liquid energy that drives physical transmutation and becomes the brain ambrosia or hormone that brings on the materialization of spirit in humans. This is true atonement, at one-ment with the mind of God. Wow. Okay, so we're talking about going even further. I think that's awesome when we're able to be in that ultimate materia of the soul place. But yeah, I think it happens more and more over the course of a lifetime. I think it happens more and more over the course of a lifetime, and especially at times like this. Especially at times like this. And I just want to read that one more time. Psychologically, coagulation is first sensed as a new level of awareness and self-confidence that is beyond all things. I think that's the empowerment that comes from times like this. We find our power, we find our strength, we find our steely determination to persevere even in the midst of extreme circumstances. And we come out of something like that, something like we've just gone through, with a sense of our true power. And so that's, I think, what we're talking about here. Let's see. Yes, I love how that's put, the ultimate embodiment of spirit. Coagulation releases the ultima materia of the soul, the astral body, also known as the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone is the astral body. Interesting. The astral body integrated into this body. I think that's how I would put it. It's the contact with the astral body, and then bringing it fully into this body with all its limitations, bringing it into this this psychological being that we are, and all of its limitations and challenges, and doing our best one day at a time to live from that place of higher awareness and from our higher moral code. I think that's ultimately a gift of this past year. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is really the ultimate alignment of philosophers, and being able to live from a kind of higher moral code that the philosopher works hard to come to. And Jupiter has to do with higher moral codes, and Saturn has to do with wisdom and maturity that's hard won over many years, and in a context of awareness of the true suffering of this dimension and the ultimate mortality that we deal with here. That's Saturn, keeping it real as a philosopher, but Jupiter keeps contact with the mountaintop perspective, and it's closer to the sky, and it's able to be in contact with the higher moral self, and come from a hopeful perspective and this kind of code of honor that we earn over the course of a lifetime, and especially in times like this. And if you add that Jupiter-Saturn to Pluto, it just takes it to extremes, and you add it to Mercury, and Mercury is, of course, the mind, and Mercury, Jupiter, the ultimate alignment of philosophers. And so, yes, I feel like this is the moment where we're really doing it, everybody. We're really doing it. And I hope this has been helpful. And I send you many blessings and much love and light. If this has been helpful, I'd love it if you hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed and you want to keep following along, come into my starship, please hit the subscribe button. And it's even more awesome if you hit the little bell so you get notifications. And yes, blessings, everyone. Blessings. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your response. Love.